catalyst for change with the chance to thrive. Crystal is the one to stir up gifts and save lives. You get exposure, promotion, and marketing too. And advertise for business owners just like you. On Storytime, your interview is global. Virtual or in person, just come on the show. Yo, your story matters. Crystals will open the door. 40 years of experience, ready to give you more on Storytime. Get ready for Storytime. Hey, come on.
Well, good evening and welcome to Storytime. We are here Sunday, October 12th, and I want to just say, let's make sure we have our phones on vibrate so that we don't have no interruptions. I meant to say that for sure because I'm doing that right now as well. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited tonight to have my guests, Vincent and Patrice Bayon. They are from the ACE Center. You know, I did a post and I said, don't miss this story about Vince and Patrice Bayon, and discovered a remarkable thing they're doing at the ACE Center in Knightdale, North Carolina. If you've never been there, you're going to learn today how they're building community through this amazing establishment by giving people a place to host events, celebrate milestones, and connect with one another. This episode will not only inspire you, but it will also empower you and enrich you about family, marriage, and heritage. Okay, Vince and Patrice are helping others strengthen their families, building lasting relationships, and embracing their richness of the culture and history. So we are so excited that the day is finally here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to remove this picture so I can be in front of you. So I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Sunday evening, y'all, and you see me. I'm giving you me in my natural state today. It's been a long day. I might let my hair down a little bit, but you know, it gets kind of hot when you get like me in your 60s. You know, I don't have flashes anymore, but sometimes it gets too hot. But I want to say thank you for being here. And I want you to do me a favor. We're going to go over a few housekeeping rules. First, I want to let you know about Storytime, right? Okay. So Storytime is where we come. It's where human beings connect. And we connect through experiences. And I want you to remember while you're here that this is the place that we connect. So I'm just going to put that little reminder there for you. And I want you to do me a favor. I want you to take a moment and share this with 5 friends. All right. While you're out here, just let them know if they've never met Patrice and Vince. Tell them they want to come on over here. And when you get here, a few things I want to ask you to do. That's like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. It's free, y'all. It's free to support and subscribe, okay? So listen, we are excited, and we want you to know that at Storytime, everybody's story matters, all right? We've had a remarkable last show, the last show and the show before that, all of them. Everybody's story is good, so we want to invite you to go back to the channel and really check out some stories. I think my last show was Pebbles she's an investigative journalist. So if you see me sharing a lot of missing people now, that's because that's what she does. She helps to find the lost, the missing, and the trafficked. So you may see me sharing a lot of those things that I get from her, and it's real. It's real because she's helping to solve those mysteries, y'all. It's like real. So if you like law and order and all that good stuff, this is life. This is real life. People are actually missing, and she's helping to find them. So let's get to some good old stuff today. I know I hear my guests knocking at the door. This first young man, I must always start with him because I like to start with the head of the household. And Vince is, of course, that. And known Vince for quite a while. I've known him for quite a while. I have to say that about him. And he's a very enriching young man, and he's accomplished a lot. We have one thing in common because he did some things at my alma mater at St. Augustine. And we want to bring him out here, and then I'm going to definitely tell you a little bit more about him. But I believe I hear him knocking at the door, so let's see what we got. Mr. Vince, are you there?
Mr. Vince is here. Thank you for that wonderful build-up, Sister Crystal.
Well, you know, listen, you deserve that. You know, we work in the background a lot, and sometimes we give other people opportunity. You have a venue where you're giving people opportunity, but it's your night tonight. So how you feeling today on this Sunday afternoon?
I I'm feeling great. I certainly appreciate you and all that you do in the community. And thank you for inviting me and Patrice on your platform. I am so proud and impressed with what you do and how you do what you do.
Whew, it comes with a lot of age, experience, and growing pains. Growing pains. I know
Hey,
you know about those, right? A lot of
sis,
growing pains. Woo!
look, look, welcome to the world of entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, Vince, I know that you're a social entrepreneur. I know that you are probably a serial entrepreneur because you do a lot of things at one time, and you be juggling those things in the hat. I'm sure you're human and resource development consultant, and just a training facility. You have a lot going on, and then you have, of course, the ACE Center, and which we see the sign there behind you. And so we want to get into all of that. But before I go into what you've achieved and the milestones, I would like to let people start off by talking about who they are as a child, because we know we have your help me here too. So before we bring her on and let you introduce her, tell us a little bit about who was Vince, the little boy, and where you
Vince, the
from a little
little,
bit.
Vince, the little boy. It's interesting, Crystal. Earlier today, I had the opportunity to speak to some young boys from a baseball team. They asked me to be the keynote speaker. And anytime that I have the opportunity to engage, particularly youth, I always share a little bit about my story. My story is uh, not very unique, but somewhat unique. And I always start from a place that says, growing up, born and raised in New York City, specifically Harlem, um, my biological mom abandoned me when I was 3 months old. And I was taken in by my next door neighbors. And they provided me with everything that I needed. Now, the interesting thing about me growing up in Harlem, NYC, at that time, and given the situation, is that my biological mom or dad never lived any more than 4 or 5 blocks away from me. So I would see them, I knew who they were. But you can imagine as a child, too, there was some confusion because I knew they were my mom and dad, but I could not understand why I was living with this family and not them. And so back then, children didn't have the opportunity to ask questions why. That was grown folks talk, as they used to say. And so growing up, I had this question that was going on inside my head as to why, but was never really able to articulate it. And now that I look back on my childhood, I realize that there was a lot of resentment and just confusion. I wouldn't really say resentment, a lot of confusion. And that confusion led to me feeling, harboring some negative energy.
Wow.
And it wasn't till the age of 47, I'll never forget, at the age of 47, I was able to articulate the thing that was burning inside of me. And that question that I asked myself was, what was so wrong with me that neither my biological mom or dad wanted me? And as soon as I was able to articulate that, the answer came back, and the answer was nothing. That
Mm,
was not about you. That was about whatever they had going on. And so,
wow.
my talk to the kids today, I'm going to take it back to that. I shared with them that in and during the course of your life, things can happen to you, but things can also happen for you. And so I realized after asking the question that what happened to me didn't happen so much to me, it happened for me because it gave me the springboard, it gave me the support, it gave me the things that has led me to where I am today. So, that's my story. As a child, I was surrounded by a lot of love, um, was surrounded with opportunity, got to see things, experiences. Um, yeah, definitely.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I think that's a good segue when you said surrounded by a lot of love, and then you've met the love of your life, our other
Yes,
guest
yeah.
today. I think that's the perfect way to introduce this young lady and just give us a little intro. and then we'll let her talk about who she is and where she's from. But just tell us about your better half.
Yes, indeed, my better half. When you say that, I can recall at early on in our relationship, we had gotten to a little conversation with spirited. I'll say it wasn't heated, and I don't know how we got to it, but she said something to the effect that you didn't know what you needed until you met me. She was bold and brazen, and I couldn't come back from that because she was right, and she has helped to me to become better. And you always need that person in your life who's going to compliment, who's going to be your cheerleader, who's going to give you correction when you are out of line, and who's going to help you become the best version of yourself. And she is my best friend. And folks take that word friend lightly, but you think about your best friend. Best friend is beyond roles, wife, husband, mother, father. Your best friend is your soulmate. That's who you talk to. Yes, I tell people all the time, yes, I love her, but it's also just as important to know that I like her as well. I like being around her. I like the conversation and I like the life that we've built. So please introduce when you're ready, Patrice
Wow.
Bayon.
So we're going to bring on Miss Patrice Bayon, a mother, a grandmother. Oh my God, she's another one, a storyteller. And this is story time. So that's great. An entrepreneur, the community builder, Mrs. Patrice Bayon. I hear her knocking at the door too. Are you there?
I am here. I am here. Greetings, everybody. I'm so grateful to be able to come on, Crystal, and spend some time with you. I love story time, and so this is right in my wheelhouse. So I love this.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I so appreciate y'all. I don't get to tell you enough. I don't get to see you guys a lot together because you're both always in the mix, and you're productive. I don't want to say busy, but you're productive, because a lot of times people think that people are busy, but you're productive. So it's great to see you both together. I want to say
Yeah.
kudos to everything that y'all are doing to provide people a space and a place. The thing that you're doing for Knightdale, North Carolina, and the way that you're helping to bring people out and do things and uplift this community. I really thank you. But before we do that, I want you to have the same opportunity. Tell us a little bit about that little girl, Patrice, where you're from, and a little bit about your upbringing and your background. Can you do that
Oh,
for us?
yes, absolutely. Thank you again. My story is from a very small community in the southeastern part of North Carolina called Fair Bluff. Oftentimes, when you talk about small community, you have a tendency to talk about the nearby community so that folks will be able to identify. But I've learned that in order for you to really own who you are and really stay grounded in where you come from, you got to name the thing. And so I name my community because every time I name my community, I'm naming every ancestor, everyone that was a part of my upbringing that made it possible. So growing up, I did things that helped to shape who I am. I came from a family who believed in fishing. I started out fishing when I was probably less than 5 years old. But it was one of the things that taught me the most about what life had in store for me. I spent time at the riverbanks with my grandmother. I sat with her. I watched what it meant to be patient enough to sit on the banks and watch to see whether or not you're going to catch anything. And there were days that I spent from sun up to sun down there with her. And I think about it now because it was those times that helped to really bring me into connection with what it means to really understand that life is not going to always give you what it is that you believe you're going to get out of it, but it's really about staying in it and sticking with it. Um, and being patient enough to believe, to trust that process. I
Wow.
am the youngest of three boys. I mean, of three. I am the only daughter, and I have two brothers. And I was fortunate enough to be raised in a blended way of education with my mother and my father. I'm proud to say that my mom and my father, one being a sharecropper and one being an educator, enriched me with what it meant to be able to understand that knowledge is not just about whether you spend 8 years going to, whether it's elementary, whether you're spending 4 years in high school, because my father didn't do that, but is what he was able to teach me and my mother, and recognizing that education is what we are able to gain from the knowledge of who you are around. And sometimes that comes from just as much about understanding that it's not the book smarts that get you where you need to be. It's the capital of what you learn when you are able to sit with your elders, and whether you're able to sit in the room with those who can teach you something.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I want to thank Vince for giving me such a warm introduction when he talked about who I am. And one of the things that I remember most about in our years of dating, he asked me once, "Would you date yourself?"
Mm.
And that was a pivotal question for me, because what he was asking is, or what he was saying, I should say, is that we should see each other in one another. And if you
Mm.
see one another and in one another, if you can date yourself, then that is reflective of recognizing that you must have some qualities that you think is worthy of spending time with. And so I took that as it's important to know that you can't just spend time with me and just, popping your gums, as he say. You gotta you gotta really be about what's real and what's important. And so thank you again. Thank you for
Wow.
allowing us to come and spend this time. I feel like I'm just sitting on the couch, just having a
Yeah,
conversation.
that's what it's supposed to be like. Like we're having a conversation. So I want to ask you this question, because a lot of times the woman, they really have the details. But how did you two meet?
Well, believe it or not, we met during the time we were working with an organization called Inroads. And the time at that time, it was early 90s that we met. And the friendship is really what connected us then. But the cards would play out years later that would allow for us to reconnect in a different way. And that friendship is what really kept us continue to say that there's a deeper way that we can build a life together. And
Yes.
and so we did spend years working at Inroads, helping to young people really, forge a way of what their life careers would look like through, community and corporate leadership. We spent days doing training with young people, and really instilling the things that we felt were important for students of color. During those times, you didn't hear the word diversity a lot, but we were working with students of color, and
Okay.
that shaped our love for just engaging young people in what we call information transfer. We
So let
believe
me
that.
ask you.
Go
Let
ahead.
me ask you if I can stop you, Vince. What was she doing when she caught your eye? For most men, it starts with you guys. You spot them, you check them out, and you go, "Oh yeah, I got to get her number. I got to talk to her, do whatever." So when y'all were at this place and y'all were working together, take it back to that day. How did that happen?
Well, first of all, it wasn't the 90s. The year was 1987, to be specific. In
Okay,
terms of
okay.
who who has the details and who doesn't. So,
Okay, okay,
um,
for the brother. Okay, for the brother. I said lady, but okay, he gonna make sure he correct that. Okay, I love it. I love it.
no, in all honesty, because when Patrice came, I was already at the Inroads organization, and I was in a position where I was her. She had to report to me. I was her manager, and so I'm always going to operate out of integrity. And so
Right.
it wasn't the typical kind of, you know, how we often hear folks meet, let me get your number, that kind of thing. Uh, Being that I respected my position, I saw that she was, and she was younger than me in terms of getting her career started. My whole thing was to be the best manager and support that I could be. And so it really didn't start off like that. And that was, as you look back on it, to kind of piggyback on what she said, that was the blessing of the relationship because we truly, truly started out as friends you
Wow.
know for both of us this is we now it's our second marriage, but I knew that she was in a relationship at that time, and I had to respect that.
Yes.
And again, our thing was always operate out of integrity, as I was in a relationship as well, so it didn't start out like that.
I love it. I love it. And now we're going to definitely get into y'all, but y'all have a lot of wisdom. I said in the intro that y'all can help some married people, you can help some single people, you can help families. So I love what you said about being respectful for your position. So you made sure that you didn't do anything to mess with either one of your jobs and to make sure you don't have no potential, harassment cases or anything like that. So that's good. That's wisdom right there. And so that's good. So to the ladies out here that may be still single and just being patient and waiting because there's a lot of them out here. Uh, Patrice, what would you say to them? I mean, if they're waiting for their Boaz, so to speak, and you were patient, you were friends, and I think that's important to be friends first. But what would you would say to anyone that comes back that may get inspired because this is your second marriage? So there are some women that have been through it once, but they might have given up and they don't know if they can find love again after 40 or 50. What would you say?
You know, because this is not our first marriage, and it is a blended family. We have three beautiful kids, and with that comes intentional decisions around how you're going to prioritize, that this is not just about you and that other person. This is also about how you still want to create a family around those who may not be by birth, right? And I think one of the things that Vince and I really instilled is that family does not have to do with by blood. Family is about relationship and how you honor that in a marriage and even as friends. We have always prioritized that um, it's important to be a family and create that space that's not just about us. And so I would say to the young women out there, the young ladies, um, choose choose yourself first, because Vince and I, we had already determined that we were on our journey of being whole with or without one another. That was the thing. It just made it better when we did it together as husband and wife, is to come together and build something greater, not just for our family, but this thing has, reciprocal, responsibilities. It's not just about us, it's about what we're doing outside of us. And so we are building something within the community, we're building something within each other's relationships and family. So I hope I answered the question. And again, ask yourself the question, would you date yourself?
I love
Because
it.
men expect you to be able to answer that question. Why should I choose you if you haven't chosen yourself?
Mm.
And I'm choosing
Wow.
myself first. Yes.
Yeah,
Vince,
Crystal,
that's
one of
a
the
powerful question. I want to hear from you on that. Where'd you
yeah,
get that?
so here's the thing. You know, one of the things that in our training and development and the workshops that we do, there are a couple of self-reflective questions that are really revealing. And so one of the questions that Patrice just shared with you was, you know, would you date yourself? Now, I've asked that question in workshops, and you would be surprised at the number of people that would say, no, I wouldn't date me.
Wow.
Now, when they would say that, I would say, thank you for being honest. I would then go in and say, why wouldn't you date yourself? And they would say, well, right now I'm selfish or I'm this and whatever. And that's important. The first, one of the most important lessons I've learned in life is the importance of being 100% butt naked honest with yourself, who you are, right? So that's a question. Another key question is, if for an example, Crystal, I would say to you, right?
Hmm.
If you could choose to be born, I want you to think about the men in your life who you've known. If you could choose to be born a man, who would you be? That's a question that I would ask. I would ask ladies that. And what that did was give you insight to the type of men who they've been around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And a lot of times folks will say things like, well, I would be Denzel Washington. I'd
Nah.
be like, look, you don't know. Look, you
You
don't
don't
know
know
Denzel.
this.
You don't know Denzel Washington.
Right.
He could be just, you know, what you see on screen, but he could be just as crazy. You don't know. So think about the men that you've known, and it's an indication about the type of relationship that they've had with men. If they
Yeah.
can't say there's not one man that they would be, and that's real. So I would do the same thing for men. I said, if you could choose to be born a woman, who would you be? And that would make them think, and then I would ask them why.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
And I most
it's those kind of probing questions that
I
help people to line. Go ahead, Kristen.
no, I said I love it. I love it. And you made me think. And my first reaction was my dad.
Mm-hmm.
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 My dad.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a lot of women look for their dad when they first start dating. If they
Right.
have the type of man that handled his business and did what he needs to do to be a
Right.
provider, respectable, and you know, because sometimes
Mhm.
Papa is a Rolling Stone too, but
Right.
you still it should be a father figure if everything was done right. I believe, or it could be a brother.
It
You
could
know,
be
if you came from
right,
that
or
type of family,
it could
but
be
then
an uncle. It could be a friend,
it could
right?
be a friend.
It could be any one of. But if you are in a relation with someone who doesn't have those qualities, then you got to check yourself to say, well, wait a minute. That's not. I wouldn't want to be this man that I'm in this relationship with. So why am I? Let's be honest with it.
Yes. So are y'all doing some type of marital counseling or something at the ACE Center to help people with this? I mean, with this knowledge and the way that you're doing these things to make people reflect and think about these. I mean,
I would say we're not doing anything formally, right? But one of the quotes that I heard that said, "Work is love made visible." I think that a lot of what Vince and I do in community is we want to walk the walk and talk the talk. And anyone that comes into our space, it is our hope that they get a glimpse of not just the business. We hope that they get a glimpse of what it means to be in relationship, because it's one thing to be married to, to be husband and wife, but it's another thing to be in business together. And so that requires a whole lot more. Either way, it's a partnership, right?
yes,
A
yes,
partnership is what is the common denominator in a marriage, and it is the common denominator in business. And Vince and I have now been in business, just about as long as we've been married. And Vince
Wow.
probably can state the number of years we've been married more than I, but I think we're right at about 16 years now, 16, 17 years. But we have always, wanted to have what we call an edutainment center. And it was really geared around blending education and entertainment. And that's a part of using what it is to help those. And it's not, marriage counseling, it's any type of education and training that we can help people move along what we call this continuum of being better. And so, but no, we're not doing any formal counseling of sort.
Right.
But you're leading by example. You're leading by example, and
Yeah.
people are watching you guys and they're learning from you guys inadvertently. So that's a beautiful thing. So now the other thing I want to ask you about, so y'all have businesses together. Some people can't work together. What's the secret to that, Vince? What's the secret to being able to work with your spouse, to respect her, to listen to her when she makes suggestions, and to go to her and get, her advice? What's the secret?
Yeah, so the first word that comes to mind is alignment. Alignment of goals, alignment of ideology, alignment of values. You know, those things are important. If you got one person who, for an example, is not a risk taker, and the other person is on the opposite end of the spectrum, along the course, the way, even before you get started, there are going to be some issues. But if you align with those of the same ilk, same acumen, the spirit of entrepreneurship, and you take the time to do the work, those are the things that are going to make you successful, or help you to at least help you to launch
Right.
and,
Yes. Yes.
along the course, right? And so, really, it's about values. It's about being in alignment. It's about understanding uh, each of us, each of our quirks, as our strengths and our weaknesses. We often talk about, we laugh and we joke, we tell folks all the time, and Patrice came up with this phrase.
Can I
She said
tell it?
that,
Please let
yeah,
me.
yeah,
I had to tell it because it's so you and it's so me. The phrase is the turtle and the giraffe.
Oh, wow. So
And
who's the turtle and who's the giraffe?
by far, Vince is the giraffe. He has a 30,000 foot view of how he sees the world. It's his lens. And it's his way of, he may see the vision, which may wake him up at night. But on the other hand, me being the turtle, I have always seen the world through this lens of, I have this perspective of a steady kind of move pace, but I'm still moving, but I'm doing it in a way where I'm seeing a whole lot more beneath that
the
connects
detail.
the details. I connect the
Yeah.
dots. And so that brings a balance, but also it requires respect at the same time, because I may not always see where it is that we're going, but if I can say, this is how we get there, here are the
Wow.
things that we can connect the dots to get there. And then he sees it and he said, because he just said, hey, babe, we can do this. We can build this center. We can do this. I'm like, yeah, but it's going to require that we have these things so that we can do it, and not just do it to say we check the box. If we're doing it, I'm going to do it so we can win. So that's how we flow.
And as the result of this, you have a successful place that we all know as the ACE Center. And Before we go into what happens at the ACE Center, I want to find out. I'm hearing all the positives, right? But every relationship has challenges. So how do you balance the challenges? Because we know that they're going to come. The challenges are going to come. So before we go into the success and how you've managed to get to this point, give the people a little bit of nuggets about how to balance the challenges and those tough moments. Either one of you can start and go from there on that.
Yes, I'll lead in with this and then I'll let you follow. One of the things that is a part of our MO is that whatever business that we go into, we also got to be ready to talk about the exit strategy. Part of that is because we recognize that everything is not going to be smooth sailing. And the ACE Center has not been smooth sailing. In the 7-8 years that we have been in business, we have encountered as has been probably one of the most challenging, has been, having to come through COVID and social distancing and being in the business of socializing. That was not a fit for, the ACE Center. However, we were able to weather that because at the heart of what we do is how we go about building relationships in community. And it was our community around us that when the doors closed and when they reopened, our community was right there ready. But what we did in the meantime, in between time, was we told our stories. We came on to different podcasts and we talked about how important it was to understand your own value proposition of business. Is to understand that if you're going to be in business, it's not for you, it's for the community to be able to say, this is why we need you here. And if we're not here, what is the impact? So we thought it was important that during the times when we had the challenges to do some retrospective, no different if we were talking about retrospective of your personal self. What is it about the ACE Center that makes it important that we stay the course and that we don't go under? And so part of that was really kind of looking at it across community, looking at it across our relationship capital, looking at it across the capital of financial to see what could we do to really be able to, sustain. And it was those relationships. And I will tell you that whether it was our landlord seeing us as a value add in the community and doing their part to say, we need you here. So I'm gonna pause there, Vince, to allow you to.
One of the things we said early, Crystal, to kind of approach it from a different perspective. You think about whoever is your best friend, right? Who's your best friend? Now, that person is your best friend for a reason. You think about how many times you get into arguments and things like that. And if you do, how they're settled. The advantage and what has kept Patrice and I strong in our relationship and also in terms of being in business is that we truly are best friends. Now, does that mean we agree on everything all the time? Of course not. Of course not. But, when you make the commitment to say, okay, this is where we are, this is what we've invested in, this is who we are, this is where we're going, then you work it out, the way that it needs to be worked out. And that is in whether or not it's in business or whether or not it's in personal things that may be going on in the household. And being honest and being real about a situation. A lot of times people think they see the ACE Center, they see a lot of activity happening at the ACE Center, and boy, they think we're rolling. Folks have a tendency to believe that folks who have their own business are just they got it like that. And there's always a story behind the story. But you take on the challenge and you keep it moving.
Patrice, talk to us a minute, Patrice, about the importance as a storyteller for one moment, and then we're going to talk about the ACE Center. You help people to bring out the stories. And, you know, one of the reasons why I created this platform is something I see you would understand because you have a heart for it. You help people create the lens to see the vision that they have and they might have overlooked and they may not know their purpose. So on that note, how important is it for people to really learn their story and to begin to share it? And how important is it, do you think, to them reaching their destiny?
Wow, that's a really good question. You know, I didn't always feel as though I had a voice. I didn't always feel as though I was even seen. And I realized that sometimes the very thing that you are striving to learn for yourself is the very thing that you're called to teach. And I I I think that is what is so important, and whether we're talking about in a young person's life or whether we're talking about in someone's life who is trying to get to that next level. I just spent time for the last 7, 8 hours at a women's conference that I was hosting, and it was called The Fruitage of the Womb. And part of that was really about how do we come into community as women, creating a space to look at the things that have shamed us, to look at the things that have allowed us to dim our light, and that has allowed us to defer the power that we innately have, but somehow or another the system has told us otherwise. I feel it's a role that I play to tell every, whether it's young girl, tell every young boy that there is just as much that they can offer and bring into this world when they find that voice. And so that's why it's important that I spend time helping others see, things in places that they don't think is possible, and using my gifts to do that. And part of that is starting with, we have to help other people see themselves. I often talk about this thing called having whole communities, to begin with having whole people, and starting with having whole connections and having whole relationships. That's where we got to start. So.
This picture right here that I'm looking at that I put up here, and there's so many pictures, ladies and gentlemen. I normally do a slideshow. I'm going to do the slideshow, but they have so much value and so much that I want to show you guys that I'm not going to do it any justice unless I do it separately. So when you get the link to this show, you're going to be able to go back and see the slideshow, but I am showing certain things so we can just talk about them. But what's this right here? What was this all about, Patrice?
Because I have worked for many years in workforce development and human resource development, I've had the opportunity to be a part of this Black Business Expo, and it really was geared towards how to create, more inclusive environments and spaces. And this was actually an expo that I was a part of. And I actually forgot that I was even a part of this, but it's bringing back the memories because I bring the connection of being in spaces that wherever I am, inclusion is going to be there. I'm going to work to close those gaps.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what space I'm in, I'm working to close the gaps. And so this was a part of that economic inclusion.
And how about this right here? Tell me, Vince, what took place here as we get ready to go into the ACE Center? I know y'all do some remarkable things and you recognize people but you submitted this, so I know this had to be special. What moment was this right here?
Yeah, so in addition to the ACE Center, we also have a 501c3, a nonprofit organization that's called Level Next Training and Life Coach Institute. And part of Level Next and part of the inspiration for the 501c3 comes from my story. Uh, we have for what my parents did, those who took me in, Austin and Betty Cross. We have a component of the 501c3 that's called the Austin and Betty Cross Guardian Awards. And what we do is we recognize people in the community. That's Austin Cross there. We recognize people in the community who have either taken in foster kids, who have either also taken in even family members. They're standing in the gap when parents are not able to for whatever reason. And so since the philosophy really is I can never pay it back, we have to pay it forward. This was one of the first awards that we gave out to Miss Jeffers is her name. She has
Wow.
done an outstanding job in this community in terms of fostering kids, young kids, children. Um, I forget what the number was. Like she was up there at one time, maybe 16, 17 kids
It
that
was
she had taken in as fostering. And so we honor that. I always say again, I can't pay Austin and Betty Cross back, but I have to pay it forward. And so that's a very important part of who we are. It's about having an impact. It's about honoring those who have created space for you and making sure that you create space for someone else.
Wow, wow. On that note, wow. So now we have the ACE Center, and we're going to look at the ACE Center. We're going to go there, and I'll show a few more pictures in a little bit. But how did the ACE Center come about? You came out one day, you saw the property. I mean, was it an idea? Was it a vision? How did this come to fruition?
Yeah, so part of our bios, Patrice and I come out of a background that was heavily into training and development. And whether or not it was training and development for professional reasons or personal training and development, helping to teach critical thinking skills, how to navigate in through corporate America, but how to navigate through life. And so after we left the organization that we were in, the Inroads organization, that had become so much a part of us that we wanted to do it. And the challenge was us finding a space. Now, blend that with the fact too that I am also a creator. I'm a creative person too. I'm a writer. I've done stories. I've done plays. Earlier, Patrice talked about the whole concept of edutainment. So we said we wanted to find a place that could house our training and development, could house our entertainment pursuits, all of it. And we were thinking about a standalone space. But we live here in Knightdale. We kept going past this space that was right next to Food Line that we saw was empty. And we said, why not here? This is where we can build our Arts Conference Event Center. ACE is an acronym for Arts, Conferences, and Events. And so we were blessed to be able to go ahead and bring that vision into fruition.
Wow. And Patrice, tell them about the different things that they can come there for. What I have it on the screen, but describe
Yeah,
the type
sure.
of events that people can come to the ACE Center for.
Well, as Vince said, one of the things we always had this vision of creating this multi-purpose space, and we never wanted it to be just about an event center. It is so much more than that. It is a space where we believe that culture and community can come together. We do things from, it can be used as a space for Zumba. It can be used for a space for community. And then at the same time, it can be a space where someone's special occasion comes to life there, whether it's a wedding, it could be a retirement event. And then we spend, time creating that vision around things that have to do with, again, training, and education. Vince and I, we always look to partner with those who are looking also to bring their vision to life. We know that this is not just about us. This is about building community and building people. So anytime someone comes to the ACE Center, we want them to feel like this is not just the right place, but this is a part of you, and hopefully when you do that, people will take care of it. They take care of it like it's their own. And the ACE Center is a part of the Knightdale community. It's a part of Eastern Wake County. And we could not do it without the many relationships, partnerships. Right now, we understand that sometimes you have to pivot. And part of the most recent thing that we have going on at the ACE Center is that we have an amazing partner who runs a track out and summer program that is being done year round with the track out, and also student, types of extracurricular things that take place at the center. So it's also feeling more like an education hub. And so
Wow.
it's more than an event center, and it continues to, it just continues to seem like it's evolving.
Excellent. And Vince, I see a picture here where y'all also give back. Talk to me about this check. What was this all
Yeah,
about?
yeah. So again, as part of our Austin and Betty Guardian Awards, we in the years since we've been open and established it, we've given over right now maybe about $35,000 to $45,000 to organizations who specialize in working with foster youth, particularly those foster students who are about to age out of foster care and they have a desire to continue their education. That picture that you showed there was for an organization out of Pullen Park, and we donated $5,000 to them to support youth aging out of foster care. We've given money to Shaw University students who are in foster care and wanted to continue their education. We've given to Johnson C. Smith. We've given to Hampton University. We've worked with the Department of Health and Human Services. Uh, and so there's, I don't know, maybe several other organizations and individuals that we have helped to support specifically around foster care.
Wow.
It's Level Next Training and Life Coach Institute. And that's a big part of what we do. Just to add on to what Patrice said real quick, the whole model for the ACE Center was really based off of a concept of a student union. All right. When you're on a college campus, a lot of different things happen at the student union. Right. It's a flexible space that whether or not we're bringing in a speaker, whether or not we're hosting an event, a workshop, a pop-up shop, it's the right place for whatever the community needs and is looking to do at a price that we think is fair and reasonable.
Wow, that's amazing. So you did mention it, and I did show it, and I'm gonna go back and bring it back up. I want you to elaborate a little bit more on the Level Next, and so the people really understand what this is all about, because this is separate from the ACE Center. So how can people reach out to you for this training, or how did this training work? Is this something where you do seminars, or is this something that people can actually contact you all to come and consult, or how did this work?
Yeah, so big picture, right? Our backgrounds and experiences have had us embedded deeply in the world of nonprofit organizations. And so whether or not it's how to manage, how to set up a nonprofit organization, how to secure I was over at St. Aug for a while. I was director of development over there. So fundraising and development, board training and development, all of those things that go into making a quote unquote nonprofit organization successful. All of those things is a reason that helped us to also spark our idea to start Level Next, that is housed and host events right here inside of the ACE Center as well.
Okay, good. Well, listen, I've been asking y'all a lot of questions. So now I always like to say, is there something that y'all want people to know that I haven't mentioned? Like, what do you people What do you want people to know about you, Patrice? And what do you want people to know about you, Vince? Like, tell us something they don't know. Like, what do you do in your pastime when you're not working, when you're not doing the nonprofit, when you're not doing the next level, when you're not hosting an event? What do you do for you? What do you do for you when you're not being daddy, husband? What do y'all do? How do you balance it? What do you do for you? I'm gonna
We are
start with you first, Patrice.
we are fishing. Um, I love chess. So there are times when now that my grandson, who's 9, he has found a love for playing chess as well. Now that he has also begun to do that, I there's chess. We Vince and I we love chess. We don't play it to be this master of chess. We do it because it keeps our mind sharp, and we're constantly thinking about what's our next move. Um,
Oh,
so
yes, I love chess. We got to play one day, girl. I didn't know you played.
yeah. So, but yes, I mean, fishing. Our family, we are fishermen. We love to go fishing. If you are wondering where we are sometimes, you probably can catch Vince on the pier, and um, and we also love a great movie and do a great date night. So those are
Wow.
the things that we really enjoy.
And how about you, Vince?
Yeah, so yeah, Patrice mentioned fishing, but I am also the artistic side of me is I am a writer. I love films. I've written a screenplay. I've written a couple of plays already, and my goal is to really have those things produced. So I'm really big into the movie world and behind the scenes, that kind of stuff. And I am unapologetically out here being an activist for my people.
Mm.
Okay.
Particularly
Okay.
when we see everything that's going on. I don't
Yes.
have a problem, talking black, being black, uh, and that's not against anybody else. But I recognize that we have work to do, keeping
Yes.
our legacies, honoring those who came before us, and helping to constantly create a counter narrative to some of the stuff that's being out there. That's my thing, in a real deep way. Like no joke, I don't play with that, you know, because that's it's where I came from. I've been blessed. There's some incredible people from Gil. I met Gil Scott Heron. I met Dr. Naeem Akbar. I met Iwanza Conchufu. All of the greats, master teachers, and I don't take my teaching from them lightly. I
Wow.
apply, what I learned.
So let me give y'all an opportunity to ask, because I don't want to keep y'all all night because y'all have so much to offer. I could keep y'all. I could just keep feeding you and asking you questions. So I'm going to allow you to get ready to give me a good summation and closing statement. And with that, let us know if there's any upcoming events. I want you to make sure that you mention your contact information on how they can reach out for any of the things you want them to reach out for, the businesses, the ACE Center, the consulting services, all of the above. But I want to give you the opportunity, Vince, to talk about what you just said for just a moment. You have a group of men that you meet with, they're elder men. Talk about that whole concept and what that's all about, because I think that is so powerful. And I think more people need to know. And when are y'all doing something again?
Yeah, so again, in the midst of what we see happening today, I really had to check with my brothers. And so I called for a meeting of black men 55 years and older, and they showed up. They came out to the A Center, and I said, "Look, we're not going to talk about anything about but what has happened on our watch. Why is it that our voices have seemed to become muted when the sisters now seem to be the loudest voice in the room? We didn't grow up like that." I said, "We are the generation that grew up before leather sneakers. We grew up with Converse and PF Flyers. We grew up with a certain amount of pride and grit. What has happened that seems to be absent now?" And so we have met on Sundays to just kind of allow folks to vent and express what it is that has happened with black men from that particular generation. And what do we need to do to restore
Yes.
that energy back into the village? And
Mm.
so uh, we've had a couple of meetings, and we don't want to meet just to meet.
No.
We're really trying to come together to determine how we're going to show up in the face of everything that we're seeing right here. And so I started to say we're plotting. we're planning our next meeting next couple of weeks or so.
Okay.
Folks want to tap in, please give us a call at 919-348-1991. We say men 55 plus, but if there are other brothers out there who don't fit in that age range and they want to come to the table to be heard with some strategy and do the work, come on through.
And let's set some up. I think virtually is good because then we can have something so people can come back and replay it, and we can have documentation. I think that would be amazing. So I would love to have you brothers one time. Miss Patrice, what about the sisters? Do you think we need something like this for the ladies, the older ladies, to help out these young sisters? Because society is telling them that they need to be dressing a certain kind of way, talking a certain kind of way, and approaching these men a certain kind of way. What we need to do for the sisters?
You know, one of the things that we have done, and I think now is the time to bring it back again. We have done what we call Castle to the Queen. And Castle to the Queen is a part of one of our signature events that we do. It's a part of our 64 Squares, Hip Hop Squares program. And part of it is recognizing that the Queen, as we know, is one of the most powerful pieces on the board. And understanding the reason why it is because she is one of the only ones that can have the most versatile moves on that board. Now, being the most powerful doesn't mean that she is operating alone. And I think this conversation tonight is so important that we recognize, where do we come into play with our men? How do we show up during this climate of time and understanding what that role looks like? And so part of what is in the mix is that we will be bringing back Castle to the Queens. This is where we bring young women, their mothers, their daughters, their aunties, their grandmothers into a space. And it's not just about teaching, how to play chess. It's about understanding how we're making moves such that there should be no reason why we collectively are not able to move and make the things in terms of change happen. But we're working more and more in silos. And so we can't work in silos. We got to understand how we can move together. And so that's one of the things that we do through Level Next as a part of one of our programs. And it's time now to bring Castle to the Queens back.
Okay.
And that's one of the pieces or one of the programs that we'll be getting on the schedule soon.
Well, another offer to you for the lady, bring them on. We can definitely do something to have something for documentation. We're living in a different era, so we need to have something that we can go back and replay and revisit. So as we get ready to come to a close, I want to allow you, Vince, to tell the people how can they stay connected, give them the address to the ACE Center, any upcoming events, and do you want them to use this website to fill this out? I know you have this form here. Do you want them to use this to stay connected?
Yes. And again, before we get off, Crystal, thank you so much for allowing us to share your platform. You've been asking and inviting us for the longest. And I'm a firm believer that things happen when they're supposed to. You are a partner with the ACE Center. We're going to be doing some things together. We're going to let the folks know about that in the upcoming future. But we're located at 7027 Knightdale Boulevard in Knightdale. Telephone number is 919-348-1991. 919-348-1991. Please visit the website, theacecenter.com. We'd love to have you. We'd love to give you a tour of the space. We're here for you. This is a community hub.
Ladies and gentlemen, and you heard it from Mr. Vince. They definitely want you to reach out to them so that you can go there. We'll put the information up there for you so you can get with them and contact them so you know how to reach out. So make sure you contact the ACE Center, 7027 Knightdale Boulevard, 7027 Knightdale Boulevard. Phone number 919-348-1991. Phone number 919-348-1991. Email is info@Bayyan or BAYYEN.com. info@BAYYVEN.com. So make sure you reach out, talk to them. They're open to having events there. Find out what's on the calendar, and you definitely want to connect with them. It's a beautiful place. There's also a daycare there. You want to mention the daycare that you have there? Is there open spots?
Yeah, no, Patrice was talking about that a little bit earlier. It's a before school, after school track out program, summer camp. Beautiful, talented sister by the name of Yashida Vincent. I lead kids camp.
Yeah,
I lead kids camp.
I need to get her over there. Don't forget, reach out for them for what they're doing. They also have, find out how you can connect with them when it comes to what they have going on with the Level Next Training and Life Coach Center. Get with them individually. They can help you out. Closing remarks, I'll allow you. What you want the people to know about you? What do you want the people to say when you stop and you decide to retire and sit back? Let us know and give us any closing remarks. I'll let you go first, Miss Patrice.
No, I think you started with something around legacy when we first started this conversation. And what I will impart, and it's something that Vince and I, we really try to instill within our kids and our family, is that legacy is more than just wealth that we talk about with money. Relationship capital, social capital, when we begin to recognize what that shows up like individually and how we leverage it, that's when we really can move more in community. That's what wealth and legacy is all about. We got to learn how to leverage our social capital. And I appreciate you for this opportunity, because this is what it is. This is how we leverage each other, how we move what it is that we believe is important in community. So thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. That's what it's all about. And Mr. Vince, how about you?
Simply stated, Crystal, we leave it better than we found it.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Did you leave it better than you found it? In the community, in our personal spaces, that would be it. And again, thank you for being the incredible partner that you are. You do this and you do this well.
Yes, indeed.
And so again, if you want to do some live, if you want to host story time with Shout Crystal live from the ACEN on a Sunday night, I think folks would come. We can have some real. Yeah, I'm creating as we talking. Let me stop, sis. We need to get to
You done created another opportunity.
Okay.
Right at the A Center.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching Vince and Patrice, and I tell you, they're good people, man. They're good people. Go check them out, man. The name is on the bottom of the screen, going across 7027 Knightdale Boulevard. 7027 Knightdale Boulevard. Knightdale is blowing up, y'all. Knightdale is doing a lot, so you need to check it out. 919-348-1991. And please email them at info@BAYYVEN.com. I am your Hope Catalyst. My mission is to stir up the gift, instill hope, and save lives. And I always say keep hope alive, because we have to recycle it over and over again. Because guess what? Life happens, and it's going to keep happening, but you still have to find a way to keep going. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, this is going to be available for replay, so we want you to come back. We want you to make sure that whatever you do, make sure you let a couple people know that you saw this on Storytime. Make sure that you do like, comment, and subscribe, okay? We ask you to do that. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That's important. And share with your friends. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the girl. We want to say good night. Thank you for watching. See you on the next Story Time. Have a blessed one. Keep hope.
A catalyst for change with the chance to thrive. Crystal is the one to stir up gifts and save lives. You get exposure, promotion, and marketing too. And advertise for business owners just like you. On Storytime, your interview is global. Virtual or in person, just come on the show. Yo. Your story matters. Crystals will open the door. 40 years of experience, ready to give you more on Storytime. Get ready for Storytime. Hey, come on.